Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whatever time it is and you're watching this video, thank you for tuning along and being here with me today. My name is Chris Hamilton. I am the Director of Student Ministries at Trinity Evangelical Presbyterian Church, and I know that is a breathful to say, but I love what I do, and I love the church that I'm at, and I wouldn't have it any other way whatsoever. Today, I wanted to talk about something special to me, the Christmas season. Now, the Christmas season, if you're like me, it gets a little bogged down, right? Your schedules get a little busy. I have, 3 or 4 Christmas parties to attend. You got to coordinate family events. You got to put up the Christmas tree and maybe put up another Christmas tree at work and then hang up the Christmas lights and get the Christmas decorations and plan on attending the Christmas Eve service, the candlelit service a lot of times. And we have all these events going on to where it can just get overwhelming. The holidays can be a stressful time for a lot of people. Think about Thanksgiving too. Like when we talk about Christmas, we kind of move past, like Thanksgiving happens and then we immediately move into Christmas even though it isn't Christmas yet. But Thanksgiving, we get together on that Thursday and we eat together as a family. And then what do we go around the table, and that weird aunt, right? She tells you to, hey, what are you thankful for? And then we go around the table saying what we're thankful for, and we're like, oh, this is so corny. But what do we do the next day, right? We look for things that we don't have, and we try to buy stuff because it's on sale for Black Friday. After we just said, hey, I'm thankful for everything that I do have, let me go out and buy things that I don't have. And so that's the mentality in everything that we build along with these holidays in the American culture. And the same thing is true with Christmas. Have you ever heard the expression, put Christ back into Christmas? It's been a movement of Christians to put Christ back into Christmas. We want to say Merry Christmas. We want to see the live nativity scenes. We want to sing Silent Night and Away in a Manger. We want to do all these things, but I still think that we lose focus even deeper than Christ and Christmas. I think we lose focus more in putting Christ back into the Christian. Because we can't have Christ in Christmas if we can't even put Christ back into the Christian. Now, you probably heard this, seen it coined somewhere on Facebook, scrolling through as a meme or something like that. But I think it goes a little deeper in the application. Sure, the saying is there. We want to put Christ back into Christmas, but first we've got to put Christ back into the Christian. But how do we do that? And I think we can see this in very simple verses in Luke chapter 2. Just 2 little verses there. I think we can see that truth. But let me paint a picture real quick. So, first, in my mind, I think of Jesus' birth as something that should have been more extravagant. We sing Silent Night and it sounds pretty. Away in a Manger, it sounds like a good, calm, peaceful bringing into the world for Jesus. But really, it was a little, in my mind, it's too low of an announcement. Only Mary and Joseph and 3 wise men, and you don't have a big spectacle of what's going on as Jesus enters into the world. I think of celebrities that we have nowadays. I think of the Kardashians, right? We have Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and if the Kardashians were to announce that they were going to have a baby, the whole world would want to be on that, and the media channels would be there. The royal wedding, people waking up here in the States at 4 a.m. to watch a royal wedding, and those that didn't would, TiVo it for us old people and watch it over again. So you want to be a part of that experience, but it seemed like with Jesus, the King of the Jews, the Savior of the world, he didn't have a big audience. And I want to jump into Luke chapter 2 here. and just kind of look at that picture. So Luke chapter 2, verse 6 and 7. While they were there in Bethlehem, the time came for the baby to be born. And thinking about how they even got to Bethlehem with Mary riding on a donkey. Think of yourself as, if you're a woman 9 months pregnant, just riding on a donkey. I think that would induce labor in itself. And verse 7, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. And that's really what I want to focus in on here. There was no guest room available for them. And so I think that's where everything starts with our busy holiday seasons. Are we making room for Jesus? Or is your schedule too busy for Jesus? Back to verse 7 again. There was no guest room available for them. You know, our schedules, like I mentioned in the beginning, they can become so overwhelmed with what's going on in our lives during this Christmas season. You know, we out of obligation have to do all these things. We have to attend the work Christmas party. We have to attend the school Christmas party. We have to attend the church Christmas party. We have to go to our life group Christmas party. We have all these lights we have to hang up. We have all this stuff and decorations and events and pretty much good things a lot of times that we fill our schedules with. But then when it comes to the important things like making room for Jesus, we overshadow that with events and obligations. So I think that's the first thing that we see there. Our schedules become too busy for Jesus. Now Revelation 3:20, this stuck out to me, and I think it goes along with what we're seeing here very well. It says, "Here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me." So God is knocking. Are you letting him in? Now, God isn't going to force his way into your life. And I think this passage makes it very clear. Think of somebody at your door knocking, like, "Hey, you there?" Ringing your Ring doorbell. You see him there, but in order for you to spend time with that person, in order for you to engage in a conversation, you have to open up that door. In the Christmas season, this is perfect example. God wants to intimately seek a relationship with us. And what better way to do that than to be reminded of him and how he came into the world and what his purpose is. So instead of celebrating the Christmas season, let's celebrate the Christmas reason. We have to be intentional. We have to spend time with God. And there's many different ways that we can do that. I think that first starts out in my own application. It starts with digging into a devotion, right? We want to read through the Bible. You know, we miss that step a lot in our Christian walks because we're just like, well, I'm a Christian. And then you go on living life, and then you get your daily or weekly dose of Christianity from the sermon on Sunday. And most of us get that daily dose on Sunday morning through the sermon. And we don't attend a life group. We don't go to a Sunday night service if our church offers Sunday night. We don't go to a Wednesday night service. We don't even listen to sermons throughout the week, or we don't dig into our Bible and read passages and try to go along and have a conversation with God. And most of the time, our prayer life is at dinner time or breakfast time or at lunchtime, just to thank God for the food that we have. But what does an intimate relationship with Jesus look like? It looks like us digging into the Word. Usually I would think in the morning to start your day, just for myself. That's my own conviction. And just saying, "Hey, God, direct me today." And going into prayer after I read. You know, how does this apply? It might not apply right away, but God, illuminate this area in my life. Draw my heart closer to yours. Teach me your ways, God. Transform my heart. Transform my mind to be more like yours. Is it wrong to pray for wisdom? Is it wrong to pray for peace? Is it wrong to pray for understanding? You know, that's where I think the Christian walk starts. Putting the Christ back into Christian starts with putting Christ back into your day every day. The second piece of that is not forsaking assembling with other believers. It means that going to church, and I've heard this said before, kind of rabbit trailing, but I've heard the expression, I don't go to church because of the hypocrites there. I just can't go. Well, you're going to church for the wrong reason. You're not going to church for God. You're going to church for other people then. I mean, we're all imperfect human beings, and there are some people that just get on my nerves, and I get that. But God didn't call you to be in opposition with your neighbor. He called you to love your neighbor for all their flaws. Even more so, he said, what? Love your enemies. And love your neighbors as yourself. And how can we love God with all our heart, mind, and soul if we don't even give his church body the attention and fulfill the greatest commandment, which is the second commandment, which is like the first that goes along with it. In order to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, you have to love your neighbor as yourself. And that means taking care of their every need. That means being there for them, doing life together. And I think life groups are a big, essential part of that walk. But there's so much here that we can kind of unpack in these holiday seasons. And still, it's not easy to have that mindset. It's to say, well, I'll let God in. I'll make room for him. But yet, we tell God when he knocks that we have no vacancy. Going back to Luke chapter 2 and verse 7, there was no guest room available for him. Are you making a guest room available for God in your life? Are you filling those parts of your lives with a busy schedule? There's no vacancy. God, you can't come here right now. I got too much going on. God, I'll be there at Christmas Eve service. I'll give you that. But, Christmas morning, I'm just going to forget all about it. I'll wake up and I got to find the perfect gifts for my kids so when they wake up, they're able to have it. But even on the flip side, we can say, well, God, there's just too much hurt in my life. The holidays are just a hard time for me. I lost people that I deeply care about in those relationships. But those should remind us of the relationship that we have with Jesus. If Jesus is the most important thing in our lives, that's who we'll draw close to when we go through those hard times. Jesus will be the person that we call on when we get distracted. Jesus will be the one in the season, right? He's the reason. Jesus will be the one we have to keep our focus on in the holidays and during the Christmas season, to not get distracted, to not get overwhelmed, to not get too down on ourselves and down on our situation, because ultimately, if Jesus is the reason for the season, Jesus deserves the attention. Jesus deserves that priority in our lives. And I was going to play a video, but I'm going to skip it just for copyright purposes. And we have to make room for Jesus by making him our first priority. Not our second priority, not even just a priority. We have to make Jesus the first priority. And you heard just a second ago of me listing out things that I think that will help us put that focus back onto Jesus and make room for him. But in order for Jesus to be the reason for the season, in order for us to put Christ back into Christmas, and even in order for us to put Christ back into the Christian, it starts with an intentional approach and a kingdom mindset. The events, sure, they're great. But what needs to happen is that we have to seek Jesus. When he knocks, we have to answer. We have to be willing to spend time with Jesus. And how do we do that? We can do that in our own personal walks, but it flows out into everything else that we do. It flows out into the events. It flows out into small groups. We want to live life together with other people. If relationships are so important to Jesus, if relationships are so important to God, then relationships need to be important to us. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a blessed Christmas season, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.